Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're going to be going over the Spider-Man teasers, solved. These were the Spider-Man teasers that were shared by Rick Rosewater to go over, Spider-Man stuff as they usually do beforehand. There is a bunch of stuff that we can easily gather from. There's some stuff that's going to be a little bit more in-depth that I'll talk about as well. We're going to be going through a bunch of Spider-Man lore and stuff. Hopefully it interests you guys. I'm a very, very big Marvel fan, so I'm pretty excited about this. And it is surprising that we're getting these given that Final Fantasy didn't. Now, this is going to be a part of the initial debut stream that's going to be happening on the 29th of August later this week. I'll be doing everything we know about Spider-Man before that as well, so make sure you guys subscribe for that. And apologies that there hasn't been a huge amount of content lately. I have been going through a huge depression dip, so yeah, hopefully we can kind of pick back up from that. Please subscribe, please share the video around everything. We're trying to hit 25,000 by the end of the year, so let's get into it. First of all, we've got a new artifact food. This could be, literally anything. We've got the Spider-Man ice cream that was showed within Into the Spider-Verse. We've got the cookbook as well that had it as well. It could be anything from really that. But I'm really hoping it's pizza time because pizza time is just a huge meme and I absolutely love it. We've got mind swap as flavor words. And realistically, there's not much that could be besides being Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man, if you don't know, was a time when Otto Octavius, aka Dr. Octopus, mind swapped himself with Peter Parker. Superior Spider-Man is actually one of my favorite comics of all time. One of my favorite characters as well, as to how it kind of went about this redemption arc for Doc Ock, which ended up getting undone, which I hate, but either way, most likely going to be to do with Superior Spider-Man. We've got a new card with rocket power in its name. Yeah, it could be anything. We've got the Rocket Racer as one of the villains against Spider-Man, but then there was also the big wheel and stuff too. Both rocket powered, but it could be most things for that one. Some new counters, Ingenuity and Film. Film counters, most likely to do with assumably a camera and making treasure or something like that. Ingenuity could be to do with anything. Spider-Man has a lot of ingenuity and stuff like that. Like Peter Parker's one of the smartest characters within the Marvel universe, but that could be, also Doc Ock, could be Green Goblin, could be Norman Osborn, etc. We've got a 5-color Spider-Man. So Superior Spider-Man makes sense here as well. One of the things you've got to do with a 5-color Spider-Man is hit all the colors. And one of the hardest one for a Spider-Man is going to be black, because most Spider-Man are do not have black in their color identity. So Superior Spider-Man definitely does. He's got that morally ambiguous kind of stuff, as well as, Madam Web does kind of as well. Both of those two would hit it pretty well. Spider-Man is more of a gender neutral turn in my opinion. So I do think that, Madam Web could potentially be there, but we'll see. We've got a reanimation spell that can reanimate a number of creatures never used before. Could be literally anything. I was thinking about, the Marvel Zombies kind of stuff, but realistically, a reanimation doesn't necessarily need to be, undead or anything. You can also look at the Final Fantasy VI deck, which was reanimating, but it wasn't really, reanimating, bringing back undead or anything. We've got a card that keeps the legend rule from applying to spiders. So that could be Spider Society when you're dealing with multiversal stuff and everything like that, looking at the multiverse. But I'm not a huge fan of that one. I think that it's more likely that it's going to be the Jackal, who was the one who created and cloned Spider-Man, created Ben Reilly, cloned Spider-Man, and it could be a Clone Saga or something. I'm really hoping that it's the Jackal because I think that would make the most sense, rather than it being the Spider Society or, Spider-Verse or something along those lines. Next up, we've got a card that lets you exchange life with another player. Again, going back to that mind swap with Otto Octavius mind swapping himself into Peter Parker's body and then, vice versa. Could make sense. This is the panel from that where he has tricked Spider-Man to come to him and Peter, and then does that mind swap there. So he takes over Peter Parker's body. We've got a character other than Miles from the Ultimate Universe. Now, initially I was thinking about, the Ultimate Green Goblin, who's an actual goblin kind of thing. We've also got the Maker as well. Now, the Maker doesn't have a huge amount to do with Spider-Man, but does have a huge amount to do with that Ultimate Spider-Verse. But when I was thinking about it more, we actually already have another one that isn't Miles, which is the Prowler. The ultimate version of Prowler from the Ultimate Universe was Aaron Davis, aka Miles Morales' uncle, and we actually already have a card for him, which is within one of the welcome decks. So I assume that is probably going to be that version of Prowler instead of, like, any other character. Unfortunately, we got a famous Spider-Man meme is made into a card, most likely the pointing meme. I assume they've been very, 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 very surface level with the Spider-Man stuff, so I assume there's most likely going to be that. Next up, we've got some rules text that's going to show up on cards. So first of all, we've got exile those tokens when Mysterio leaves the battlefield. So Mysterio, if you don't know, is creates illusions, doesn't actually have mystical powers, just creates, technological illusions and everything. So it's very likely that this is tied to him. I assume that it's going to be like, whenever he enters the battlefield, create illusions based off of cards in your graveyard or something, or cards in opponents' graveyards, or, or opponents' creatures or something. There's a few different things that it could be. And then it's obviously, exile it. And most likely they're going to be like, those are 5/5 illusion creatures and lose all other types or something. We've got choose a card type other than creature. Could be anything. Look at the top 9 cards of target opponent's library. That has to be Black Cat. It's a theft card pretty clearly, because you're looking at the top cards of an opponent's library. It's 9, like it's surface level. It's not super deep, but it is, very likely to be Black Cat, because Black Cat 9 lives, etc. We've got, you may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying us any other cost. Could be anything. Whenever a creature you control with menace attacks, create a treasure. We've already seen this one. It's J. Jonah Jameson. You can get the promo from going to Atlanta, Magicon Atlanta. I wish I could go there. I really hope I can, but we'll see in the future. We've also got you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Again, that could be anything. With the Avatar set coming up, I assume it's going to be something, potentially tied to that. Maybe it's like Rhino, like, is charging forward or something. That would make sense, but yeah. We've got, if you do draw X cards, then you may put a permanent card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield. Something to do with X cost, something to do with, maybe it's, yeah. I don't know. It has the full stop here, so it's most likely not going to say where X is, etc., etc. So it's most likely like an alternate cost of some kind, but we'll see. Lose all abilities and become a green lizard. So this one here, I was thinking it could initially be Sauron, which is the guy who just wants to turn everyone into dinosaurs. He can cure cancer, but he'd rather just turn everyone into dinosaurs. But thinking about it more, that would be obviously turning people into dinosaurs, not lizards. So this is likely either going to be lizard directly or some kind of lizard serum, I would assume. We've got until your next turn, he becomes a land and gains tap, add blue. So I wasn't sure about this one initially, because it could be like, a whole bunch of different, like an Sandman. I was thinking it could be Sandman. But then I saw it was tap, add blue. So I'm not sure entirely if it's Sandman. Maybe it's Hydro Man or something like that. But it could also just be Sandman and he's becoming an island, right? But we'll see. Whenever you attack with 2 or more spiders, again, could be anything, who knows. Then we've got some creature types that are going to show up. First of all, we've got Symbiote Spider Hero. So we've got Symbiote Spider-Man, and then I believe the Gwen Stacy, the Gwenom that they revealed was also a Symbiote Spider Hero, so potentially her as well. Or it could be like Agent Venom 2. I don't know. We've got legendary creature, Human Mercenary Hero, Silver Sable. I think Silver Sable's the one that easily makes the most sense here. She is, a hero. She's a human mercenary. It can't be Taskmaster because he's not a hero, which, as much as I wish it was Taskmaster, but I think Silver Sable's the one that makes the most sense. Human detective hero. I assume that's going to be George Stacy, Gwen Stacy's dad. I don't think it's going to be anyone else. I can't think of anyone else that would potentially be. We've got Mutant Advisor. So this one here I was a little bit stumped on, because I was initially thinking of Cassandra Webb, which is Madam Web. However, they actually changed her so she was not a mutant not all that long ago. I think I would want to say like 3 years ago they but they've been kind of flip-flopping on her being a mutant for quite a while now. And given the fact that they did make Deadpool into a mutant anyway in the thing, I would assume that this would make sense. She's not really not got all those spider powers and everything like that, like all the others do. She is an advisor. She's not necessarily a hero. She's more like a force of nature kind of thing. And she was initially a mutant. Whether she is at the moment, who knows? But I think it would make the most sense for her to be the mutant advisor. We've got Sand Elemental villain. I don't think I need to explain that one. Human shapeshifter villain. We've got obviously here Chameleon. Chameleon initially had the power to just do really great makeup to turn him into other people and stuff, and now he actually has like biotechnological changes that he can do to himself to kind of actually change his facial makeup and everything like that. And also the brother of Craven, who most likely that human warrior villain would refer to as well. We've got vampire scientist villain. That's Morbius. It has to be Morbius. There's not very many other vampires that would have anything to do with Spider-Man. Realistically, not necessarily a villain, but in the same kind of way that Venom is a villain. Initially villains when they're released, they've been a villain for a while. They kind of flip-flop every once in a while, but also does have that hero kind of aspects in him as well. We've got insect villain. Very, very likely that one is Swarm. He's made up of insects, just a whole bunch of bees. And also interesting, I'm actually surprised that they're using him given that he is a Nazi. I assume that means that, they can use most characters and they're just not going to refer to his Nazism as much. But, realistically, that means that they can use Red Skull and stuff, which is great. I'm pretty excited about the fact that they can just use all those characters. And then robot villain here. I wasn't sure entirely who this could be. Robot villain's kind of very, very broad in regards to Marvel, but Spider Slayer would make the most sense, I think. And I would love for it to be the one where J. Jonah Jameson was controlling it as pictured here. Then we've got some names for cards. So Parker Luck, Peter Parker is famously very, very unlucky. And we've got the pumpkin bombardment there, very likely stuff to do with Green Goblin, obviously, radioactive spider, the spider that bit. We've got Rent is Due. I'm really hoping that that's like a Quench variant that like makes it so you have to pay 2 extra to be able to cast something, because that just that would just be hilarious. Or it might be a removal spell that you have to pay for or something like that. I don't know. We've got Spider-Verse there. Most likely some kind of enchantment. Who knows? We've got Spider's Man. If you don't know who Spider's Man is, it is a huge colony of spiders that during the field trip that initially Peter Parker usually gets his powers from, Peter Parker instead fell into a huge vat of spiders that ate him, absorbed his consciousness, and then went on to become a Spider-Man. We've got Wall Crawl, anything, Web of Life of Destiny, most likely enchantment or a land or something. Web Shooters, most likely an artifact equipment, I assume, and then we've got With Great Power. I do love how it's With Great Power ... I assume either we'll get another card that's with great responsibility, with great power comes great responsibility, or we have like just the flavor text will be that. I don't know what that could be. Some kind of aura or something like that would make a lot of sense. Yeah, who knows? It could be something cool. I'm really excited to see what those are. But that's it for today, guys. I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. I hope you had a great day, and goodbye.